Hello there, Senators, and welcome back to the channel. We are one day away from episode 3 of Ahsoka, and we're going to dive into my predictions, your predictions, and just have some fun because I can tell you over the last couple of days, I've just gotten really excited for this next episode. I was excited when it ended on last Tuesday when episode 1 and episode 2 were over. But I'm even more excited today now that it's only one day away. Got a few senators in the chat here. We got Senator Tony. Thank you for being here, Tony. Always appreciate it. Can't wait to talk with you about episode 3. And a new senator, the Star Wars Kermagin. We'll go Kermagin. Thank you, Star Wars Kermagin, for being here. Excited to talk with you about Ahsoka episode 3. Tony says, can't wait. I can't wait either, Tony. Let's just get right into it. So, Ahsoka episode 3 predictions. I think that. So, let me back up a little bit. We know that this episode is rumored to be very, very short, which is not always a bad thing. My favorite, I shouldn't say my favorite, one of my favorite episodes for Mandalorian season 2 is definitely episode 3, the one with Bo-Katan. I love that episode. It doesn't, I mean, I guess I haven't watched it in a while, but y'all have to tell me what you think. I never really thought um, that it was going, that it doesn't seem to go by very fast for me. So I guess what I'm saying is it's a very short episode, but the pacing in it makes it feel like it's pretty well spread out. And so I always found it to be um, very enjoyable episode despite the runtime. And so I think this one is rumored to be like 34 minutes or something like that. And I don't think that, I just don't think it's going to be bad. I don't think it's going to be bad at all. I'm really excited for it. Senator Tony says, I provided my predictions. Awesome, Tony. We'll get to those towards the end of the stream. Follows up and says, at 32 minutes, we are going to get more setup. Follows up again and says, or someone dies and the episode ends. So, should we just jump right into, what I think is going to happen? And shout out to you, Tony, for raising this and bringing this to my attention. But right off the bat here, I really feel like someone might die in this episode. I'll go ahead and bring your comment back up, but I think someone is going to die in this episode. I think, and Tony, you'll have to tell me if you still agree with me here. I think SHIN might die in this episode. That is a prediction of mine. There was an image that Tony shared in the Discord, which if you're not in my Discord and you want to be in my Discord, check out the description to this live stream. There's a link to my Discord. Feel free to join. Would love to get some more senators in the Discord, and we can continue the conversation after the stream or just at any time during the day with your fellow senators and myself, the Supreme Chancellor. But Tony posted this image in the Discord, and it really looks like SHIN might be. So a lot of people are saying that the image that I've had them to look is it's SHIN, but maybe SHIN was just like force pushed and knocked out. Maybe she was injured. But I kind of have this feeling that she might end up dying. And I don't know how I necessarily feel about that. I found the character to be pretty compelling. Because just the on screen, the character is very compelling. Just the way she talks, the way that she acts. There seems to be a little bit of like not strife, but disagreement between Balin and SHIN, because what it's seeming like is Balin, who was obviously a part of the Jedi Order at one time, um, has a way, um, knows the way of the Jedi. Um, and Shin, who, if we're getting the age right, I believe is around the age of 20, give or take a few years, was likely not ever part of the Jedi Order. At least if she was born before Order 66, she wasn't old enough to really get an idea or grasp who the Jedi were, what they believed in. So Shin, all her life, it would seem, grew up under the direction of Balin and learning a certain way, but Balin can't help where his roots are. It's kind of like Anakin, obviously being Vader, had a pretty significant change of mindset, went to the dark side, but somewhere deep down in there, Anakin was already there. And then obviously we see Anakin prevail, sort of like Ben Solo and Kylo Ren. And now I think Balin will see this. I truly believe by the end of the series, we'll see some type of moral like character shift in Balin. That's just at least my prediction, not for episode 3, but just for the end of the series. But Shin, not so much. I think Shin is going to be very much stuck in her ways. But I just have this feeling, and again, go check out the Discord. Link is in the description. You'll see that photo posted somewhere, and maybe Tony or you or myself can repost it. Um, but I think that Shin might die. So let's see. Star Wars Kermidurgeon says, "Let's do it." Kermidurgeon. I'll get it right eventually. Let's see. Senator Tony says, "Or it might be your Ryan's mom." Not sure what you mean there, Dodie. Think it's supposed to be a joke, but possibly. No, just kidding. Screen Crush, is that who initially gave the picture, Tony? Or where? Question is, where did you find that image? I'd be curious to know where you found that image. Star Wars. I might just call it. How do I say the last part? I might need you to sound it out for me. Kermidurgeon. Why do I not know how to pronounce that last part? Maybe we'll just call you Star Wars Kermy. Star Wars Kermy says, with due respect, Shin isn't dying in this episode. We saw in the trailers that Shin is fighting Sabine on that wooded planet. And in this episode, I think they're just fighting on the map planet. I think that they're the same planet, Star Wars Kermy. I'm sorry, that's just what I'm going to have to roll with. I think it's the same planet. But it might not be. I mean, really, in this episode, if we're really boiling down to predictions, I mean, like we said, it's only 34 minutes. But I I don't think we're going to get all that much, but I think what we're going to get is very good. I think we'll round out a lot of what we see in the trailers. In fact, now that I'm thinking about it, I think we see Ahsoka and Sabine kick it into hyperspace, although I'm not sure that is exactly, we might not see that in this one. Trying to think of what else. We do see the Purgle. We could see like Ahsoka and Sabine, like when they roll up on the planet, like they come into contact with the Purgle. Not really sure. But I really do think most of the episode might take place on the planet Cetos, which I saw a few comments here. Senator Tony says maybe Balin will do a Rey forced hand repair. Possibly. I mean, everybody who gets stabbed nowadays seems to survive, so that's definitely possible. The map planet and the red forest is the same place. Yeah, so here you go. I got a way to pronounce it. It's pronounced Kermagin. We'll go Kermagin. I think that's how it is. Star Wars Kermagin. I think what Tony says here is right. The map planet and the red forest is the same place. And so yeah, I think a lot of our episode is going to take place on this planet, and we'll see the Inquisitor come into contact with Ahsoka. Ahsoka will come into contact with Balin. Sabine will come into contact with Shin. But I'm telling you, I'm telling you that I think that Shin is going to either be knocked out, stabbed. I don't know, but I can't help what my eyes see in that image. And I posted there's a picture of it in the video that I released yesterday. And again, it's in the Discord, but I'm telling you, it looks like Shin. It looks like Shin. And that's what I'm rolling with. I'm rolling with Shin, that it is Shin, and maybe she doesn't die, but it certainly looks like something bad happened to Shin. We'll just put it that way. The Red Forest is located behind Balin's craft. Yes, I do think it is the same one. Star Wars Kermagin says, Senator Tony, I'll take your word for it. Even if so, I still think it's a later time. Okay. So even if it is the same planet, we think that it might be at a later time. That's fair enough. That's fair enough. Fair enough. Senator Tony, the S screen grab using fast fingers is off the last trailer near the end, only 2 frames. Okay. So it's in a trailer and you were the one who grabbed it. Interesting. So Tony, do you break those trailers down like frame by frame? Because that's pretty cool. I know that you're invested in this stuff, so it wouldn't surprise me, but I I believe you. I think it's Shin for sure, and I'm still convinced that Shin might die in this episode. Star Wars Kermagin says, I'll give an alternate reason. Okay, I love a good debate here. The actress's comments at Star Wars Celebration made it sound like Shin has an interesting arc, and I don't think that coincides with dying. Fair. Okay. So, um, I I don't know exactly what interview you've seen or which one. I've seen a few myself, and that's fair. I do love the character. I'm not even necessarily saying that I would like the character to die. Um, I just think that that image that I saw looks super compelling. That something bad either really happened to her or that she does die. Star Wars Kermagin, have you seen the image that I'm talking about? That I guess it's one of a kind based off of Tony here. If he used an editing software, like I see he said. Um, Star Wars Kermagin, I don't know if you have a Discord, but the image is in the Discord. Tony can repost it in the general thread or whatever. But it's also in my last video as well. I don't know if you've seen it. Um, oh, okay, I saw your comment here. It says, "Yep, I saw it. It's definitely Shin." Okay, so we can agree there. We agree that it is Shin. Senator Tony says, "I'm open to being completely wrong." Um, as a good senator would be, Tony. We are always, you know, always open-minded, but I think we're all in agreement here that it is Shin. It's just a matter of whether or not Shin dies. Senator Tony says, I use an editing software. Okay, cool. Interesting. Star Wars Kermagin says, and I'm good with being wrong too. LOL. No one mistakes my comments for being angry or nitpicky. Oh, no, we definitely don't think that. If you're a senator of this channel, we are here solely to critique, not even criticize, but critique Star Wars. And your vote is just as valid as everybody else's. So I appreciate you being here and joining the conversation. Haven't seen you in a live stream before, so welcome. And welcome to Star Wars Democracy. Senator Tony says 0.025 is still too fast. Well, that's just pretty impressive that you break those things down. Maybe if I go big time YouTuber, I can hire you on as an editor and I can have you go through. I mean, it sounds like you already do, but I could pay you to go through the trailers and supply me with good stuff and make videos about it, which you kind of already did with the other one for free. But always appreciate you coming to chat in the Discord, Tony. Let's see here. I only supplied the picture. I agree that losing Shin so early is a waste of talent. Yeah, well, now Star Wars Kermagin is kind of, I mean, you're right. The interviews with the actress, who I cannot remember the name, would suggest that there's more to the character. like I said a little bit ago, I do think that there's some interesting dynamics already with Balin and Shin. Um, I know there's a lot of videos that creators were making that was suggesting that um, Balin might be redeemed, or there will be some type of betrayal by Shin, because it really does seem like at the end of episode 2, there's a little bit of tension there when Shin is like, "There's no way they could have tracked us. Like we made a clean escape or something like that." Um, it almost seems like she is constantly looking for her master's approval and perhaps never gets it. Kind of like almost like Anakin and Obi-Wan in a sense, I guess. Um, and maybe like Balin is holding back on her training. I don't know. There could be a number of different um, reasons why there's some tension there, but it certainly does seem like there is some. And that's really interesting too. So I kind of already talked about it already, but do you all think that Shin has always been a part of the Jedi, or was a part of the Jedi, or do you think she's too young to have been part of the Jedi? And if she was too young to be part of the Jedi, how do you think that Balin and Shin came to know each other? Some people are saying Shin is Balin's daughter. I don't subscribe to that theory. I would almost assume that maybe Balin found her when he escaped Order 66 at some point. I'm not really sure, but I'd be curious to know how you all think that they came into contact with one another. Senator Tony says, "I'm open to being voted off the island." We won't vote you off the island. We won't. We would never do that. Star Wars Kerbajin says, "Another interesting thing: the fight scene with Shin and Sabine in the trailer has Shin not wearing her cloak, and she's wearing the cloak in that pic." Okay, interesting. Hmm, interesting. I don't know how the sequence is going out, but I really do think that that will all be part of the same episode. Um, Otherwise, so I guess let's ask this question as we're making our predictions. Do we think that by the end of episode 3, we're going to see, like, I guess Morgan Elsbeth and perhaps Balin and Shin and Merrick? Do we think we're going to see them depart this galaxy and get on their way to Peridia, the so-called new beyond? Do we think we're going to see that at the end of this episode? Because if so, that would imply, or we could assume, that all of those scenes, like we're talking about, would take place in this upcoming episode. Um, but I don't know. I'll be curious to see what you all's thoughts are. Star Wars Kermagin says, "I don't think Shin was part of the Order." Uh-oh, my light just went out. Pause. We have to pause, everybody. Just a second. Okay, we're back. It's really weird how that light went out because I always have it plugged in, and the one time I don't have it plugged in, it dies immediately. But that's how it goes. Anyway, um, let's see. Star Wars Kermagin says, "I don't think Shin was part of the Order. I think he found her somewhere along the way." Senator Tony is in agreement. Um, I would agree too. Okay, now we're just doing weird things with the light here, and it's kind of creepy. Let's not do that. There we go. Let's see if we can get it to stay. I mean, it was kind of cool, the red, green, the blue, but let's not do that. It's kind of like a lightsaber. Anyway, I don't. I agree with you all as well. I think that they do pick up Shin, or he does pick up Shin along the way. I guess he teaches her how to construct a lightsaber as well. I don't know. Do you? I just wonder if we're gonna get all this back. Like, is it something where we're gonna get all this backstory, We may have to just go with this light. Here we go. Is it something where we think we're going to get a lot of backstory, or is it going to be um I don't know. I just wonder how much backstory we're going to get. And if we're going to get backstory, are we going to get it in this episode? I think it's certainly possible we could get it in this episode. Let's see what y'all are saying here. Star Wars Curmudgeon says, Shin and Balin are my favorite characters in the show. I really watched those trailers a lot. They're they are really great. I don't know how long you've been with the channel, Star Wars Curmudgeon, but I in my Ahsoka episode 1 and 2 preview video, I speculated that we would get the opening scene like we did to the Ahsoka show with them boarding the New Republic ship and wiping out the whole crew. I was like, that would be just such a compelling and awesome way to open up the Ahsoka series. And sure enough, it happened, and I was really excited that it did happen. But they're fantastic characters, really intriguing villains. I think Ray Stevenson is doing a fantastic job as Balin, and it's just sad that he's not around to continue with that character. But like I've been saying, the Shin actress, who I can't remember her name, has been doing fantastic as well. So yeah, overall have been very compelling villains. Let's see here. Senator Tony says, like most Star Wars series, we start at the middle and we never get the backstories on characters unless they provide flashbacks or the character brings it up. It's true. It's very typical of Star Wars to do that. And who are we kidding? We've already gotten a little bit of a backstory already. And it's such a cool, the way that they gave Balin and Shin's backstory, or really just Balin, it's such a Dave Filoni thing to do. I mean, how cool is it that Ahsoka's like analyze their lightsabers, and then Hu Yang pulls up the image of the lightsabers and divulges what they've been able to find. That's such a Dave Filoni, I feel like, way to describe and depict where these villains came from. Super cool that he did that. And we have gotten a little bit of their backstory is where I was going with that, right? It's like we know Balin was a part of the Jedi Order at some time. But there's still a lot more there. And going back to what Curmudgeon was saying about these interviews, we know from these interviews that there's probably a lot more to come with these characters. Again, you're kind of winning me over that Shin doesn't die. There's a lot to come with these characters, and there's certainly a lot left with Balin's character. And based off the comments that Ray Stevenson was saying, I think we're going to see and hear a lot more about his past in particular and what their motivations are. I mean, the only hint that we get to their motivation so far is that in that scene where Shin's like, what happens when we find Thrawn? Power like you've never believed, or whatever he says in that scene. Balin. But why? What kind of power are they seeking, number one? And why are they seeking that power? I don't know what question is more interesting to me. What kind of power are they seeking? It's obviously, I mean, if it was just any power, they might not be seeking it. It's got to be something specific, or maybe it's not a specific power, but it's just a means to gain more power and knowledge in the Force. But like I said, I don't know what's more of an interesting question is, why are they trying to get this power? How are they going to get this power? What power are they seeking? And what about Thrawn specifically? Because because Balin doesn't know about this. He calls the path to Peridia a fairy tale, merely a legend. And so he doesn't necessarily know where Thrawn is. And so, but he wants Thrawn for power. So I don't know. It's just overall, it's very confusing. And then when Elsbeth is saying like Thrawn is speaking to me across time and space, he's like, "You're crazy," or at least that's what it seemed like to me. He's like, "You're crazy." So it's like he knows a lot, but like whatever he knows is kind of like something's not adding up between what Morgan Elsbeth knows about Thrawn versus what Balin is seeking or knows about Thrawn. Something is not adding up, and it'll be interesting to see. Let's see. Star Wars Kermagin says, I'm pretty sure the fight between Balin and Ahsoka is taking place in episode 3. And if they're fighting at the map area, I think they have to go through before the New Republic arrives. Let me read that last part again. And if they're fighting at the map area, I think they have to go through before the New Republic arrives. Okay, so if I'm understanding correctly, you're saying that Morgan Elsbeth, Balin, Shin, perhaps Merrick are all will leave and go to Peridia before the New Republic arrives. I would agree with you. Um, and based off of your comment here, it sounds like you're saying that will be in episode 3 as well. So, have you turned to the dark side and are saying that the battle between Shin and Sabine? You know what? I just had a really because now you got me thinking again. I could be all wrong about this episode, given how short it is. I am not wondering now if this is going to be maybe not filler, but maybe we're not going to get the battle between Balin and Ahsoka, and Shin and Sabine and Merrick and all of them. I mean, we see in the trailers we see Ahsoka and Sabine like training and fighting. Like where I'm going with that is, do you think we're real like in the same like? It doesn't make sense to see like a training sequence after Sabine and Shin fight. It would almost have to be before. I mean, it doesn't have to be. It just seems like it would be. I'm wondering if we see Ahsoka and Sabine, like we can kind of flesh out more of their complex history as it's turning out to be, which is something I did theorize and speculate about in my latest video. Because yeah, they have a training montage in one of those trailers, and it goes a little rocky. Like I see your comment there, Kermagin. So I'm wondering if that's going to be it. Maybe they don't fight and they stretch it to episode 4. It would make more sense. I mean, a the rumors are that we'll see Hayden Christensen reprise his role as Anakin in either a flashback, the Mustafar scene, what have you. That will take place in episode 5. And a scene between Balin and Ahsoka where Balin is like, uh, Anakin thought highly of you, like everybody knew about him. There's more dialogue there that's going to happen between Balin and Ahsoka. I've always thought that Balin is saying all these things, and we hear it in the trailer, and it's like, oh, Anakin, that's so special. But I think he's really taunting Ahsoka, and he may even know Ahsoka in her past with Anakin, know that she left the Jedi Order. It wouldn't surprise me if he did, and he's going to play into that and kind of play the mind games with Ahsoka, and be like, what we don't hear in the trailers is I think he's going to say things like, "You're the reason that he turned," even blaming Ahsoka for that. Um, and I think that is going to really hurt Ahsoka. And perhaps if that battle does happen in episode 4, we could see after episode 4, that's when she gets hurt and she realizes that she really has to deal with this pain and this regret and this guilt. That's when she decides to go pursue and go to a Jedi temple, the world between worlds, and get more knowledge. Um, the rumors are that it will be the world between worlds. I've also heard that it won't be the world between worlds. But what we know, even from Dave Filoni and interviews that I've watched of him, He has said that the world between worlds is to gather knowledge. Its purpose is knowledge. It's about knowledge. Um, and I think that that's what Ahsoka is going to seek after she has this confrontation with Balin, and he really brings to the surface some of these deep rooted issues that she's never dealt with, and perhaps is trickling over into her training with Sabine. In fact, I know that her history with Anakin is trickling over into her training with Sabine, and she's going to have to realize that she's going to understand that in order for her to be the master that Sabine needs, she's going to have to deal with these issues. And I think that's when we're going to see her either go to the world between worlds, Jedi Temple, whatever, and have these visions and get the knowledge that she needs to truly overcome the fact that it was not her fault that Anakin turned to the dark side. Long story short, are kind of like, okay, yes, this episode we might not get any cool lightsaber fights. I mean, we've already gotten some pretty cool lightsaber fights in the first 2 episodes, and Star Wars isn't just about the lightsaber fights, but they're still cool. I would suspect that we would see a little bit of a training sequence between Ahsoka and Sabine, and not saying it's going to be filler since it's just the 30 minutes, but I think even Tony, you said it. I think we're going to see a little bit of more of things get set up. And so we might learn more about like the path to Peridia, what's out there, what are Balin and Shin's motivations, what is Morgan Elsbeth's motivations, and kind of flesh some of these things out. And then we'll pick up with the action again in episode 4. In fact, that's kind of where I'm leaning at this point. So um, I don't know. That's where I'm at. You all let me know where you're at. Let me catch up with some of these comments. Tony says, looks like Balin is using image projectors to recreate the star chart, but maybe Sabine will be able to do that for Balin if she is captured by Balin. Okay, interesting. So Sabine gets captured, and you raise up a really good point, Tony. I always thought that those like image projectors in the trailers were so weird, and they don't look like anything Star Wars related to me. Not to get on the touchy subject of bricks and screws, if you know that reference, or is it bricks and nails? Either way, I don't know. I don't remember. Um, but those projectors, I always, I thought that those were not supposed to be there. I thought they were putting a trailer together too early, and they knew fans wouldn't care because of how cool it was. They look like I've never been on like the set of like a TV show. Like I am not an expert in that kind of stuff whatsoever, but they really do look like they're meant for like shooting the episode. But I could be totally wrong. They don't look like anything Star Wars related to me, but like I said, could be totally wrong. I'm open to being wrong there. Star Wars Curmudgeon says, I think Ray Stevenson's death probably means they reworked the ending, because I don't think he's just a baddie. In his little speech to Shin, Balin has a goal and a plan. Yeah, I want to know what their motivations are. And I'm hoping now that I've kind of thought about it a little bit more, which I would have thought more about this before I released my video yesterday, but I guess that's what the prediction streams are for, is to get in the Senate chamber and hash things out and figure out what's going on in these episodes. But yeah, I maybe we're gonna really get to flesh out what Balin's motivations are in this episode, which will be just as cool. That was my favorite part of the first 2 episodes. It wasn't the lightsaber fights. It wasn't even Ahsoka. Although I did like to see Ahsoka on screen in live action, but learning about this new galaxy, I mean, that is such an awesome thing. And I was watching videos today about all the hype and all the possibilities surrounding Peridia, this new galaxy, the types of being in this galaxy. We talked about it on a stream the other day. Like, I don't think that Thrawn is the Thanos like everyone's been saying. I think he's kind of more of the Loki. I think he's the first villain to come, and I think that we're going to see something like the Grist or Grisk or something of the sort come in and be more of the big bad threat that Thrawn has been warning everybody about. But I digress on that. Senator Tony says on the recasting for Ray Stevenson, hope they don't resurrect Moff Gideon. Apparently, Moff Gideon is back as a clone of himself, Palpatine. Just kidding. Yeah, yeah. I I don't. The Mandalorian season 3 is such a touchy subject for me because I don't even like. I don't recall it that much. I didn't enjoy it. It was really kind of the show that sealed the deal for me when it came to Star Wars, and I had to go take a break. I explain it all in my first live stream here on the channel. But yeah. But to go off of your point here, Tony, I don't think Moff Gideon is dead. I don't think Moff Gideon is dead. Let's see here. Star Wars Curbigen says you bring up a fair point. It could stretch into episode 4. That's what I'm leaning towards at this point. I definitely think that this is going to trickle in to episode 4, but I would love to be wrong. Right, you say, follows up and says they have to have that Rocky training montage before Sabine fights again. It would make sense in terms of the story. However, is it necessary? No, I'm sure they could work that training montage in another scene, even if it's after the fight with Shin. I mean, we see, if I remember correctly, in the trailer, Sabine does get like bested again. I mean, she's on the ground. It's where it looks like she's using the horse in that one scene. So who knows? Maybe she gets beat up again. Or maybe we get the training montage and it's very, very brief, nothing much to it right before they end up there. I mean, heck, again, it's only 34 minutes. We could go straight to Sabine and Ahsoka on the ship. They're training. Sabine or Ahsoka gives her a little lesson. We learn more about their complex history. And then we cut right to Cetos and we get right into the action. That's totally possible as well. And maybe it doesn't stretch into episode 4. I don't know. We'll just have to see. Either way, it's exciting. So, Star Wars Kermigan says, and by the way, I'm not just going to say that I'm not. Wait, I'm just going to say that I'm not cool with Sabine eventually beating Shin, and we all know it's going to happen. I get Mandos can beat Force users, but as a Jedi, I don't buy it. Yeah, I mean, there is going to have to be a lot of training involved, I think. But I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to go too much in the spoilers of what the ending is like, and it doesn't even directly relate to what you're saying here, Kermigan. But I mean, we might not see Sabine get beat by Shin. It is Dave Filoni and his storytelling, after all. Um, it's certainly possible that doesn't happen. Um, so Kerbigen follows up and says that would be interesting if Balin says that to Ahsoka, but I think if he does say that, it will be because he absolutely sees that as the truth and not solely to taunt. Yes, I see what you're saying, and I agree with you. Like I do believe that he sees that as the truth, um, which I suppose is different than taunting, but it will kind of be used in the same aspect and way. I guess is what I'm trying to say. Is like Balin will do that, and it will be a means to provoke Ahsoka. I guess is a better word than like taunting. He's going to try to provoke Ahsoka into doing something maybe she doesn't want to do or acting a certain way, giving into her anger, the whole dark side thing. But using it to provoke her. But yes, I absolutely believe that he does see that as the truth. And in fact, it makes me wonder. One of my wilder speculations, and I don't believe this to be true at all, by the way, is that like maybe Balin sees Thrawn and this power as a way of somehow, I don't know, time traveling, reversing Order 66. Like I said, it's a wild theory, but it made me wonder if something didn't happen like pretty significantly to Balin and in Order 66. And that's why he wants the power that he wants is to go back and reverse it or make things right. But I don't know. I just don't know what his motivations are. But again, I agree with you. He totally does see it as the truth that that's why Anakin turned. And maybe it's as simple as he was really, I mean, it would be really cool to see that he was, they're about the same age, Balin and Anakin. So maybe they were really good friends at the temple. And he truly does blame Ahsoka because he would know who Ahsoka is for Anakin's downfall because he lost a friend in the entire Jedi Order that he was once a part of. So all good theories, all good speculation. Senator Tony says, agree with both posts. Star Wars Kermagin. Yeah, all great points. Senator Tony says, the image projectors in the trailer, I always thought the same. Mistakes, set props, etc. Yeah, they don't look like Star Wars to me. And it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, they probably needed to get the trailer out quickly, and perhaps they just didn't have time to edit it out or whatever they have to do. Again, I'm not an expert on it, but they definitely don't look like Star Wars universe items, to say the least. Or yeah, I don't think they're meant to be there. We'll just put it that way. I don't think they're meant to be there. Senator Tony says, but I think Balin may be looming to use Morgan's ship to go to another universe. His motivation is different than Morgan's. So you think that he's using Morgan's ship as a means to go to other universes, not necessarily Peridia? I don't know if I agree with that necessarily, Senator. I don't know. Again, I don't know what his motivations are. It does seem like he's wanting to find Thrawn based on what we know. And the only reason why I say he wants to find Thrawn is because Shin does say what happens when we find Thrawn, not when we find this galaxy, not when we find this race of people, not when we discover this relic that will give us this power. They're looking for Thrawn. They need Elsbeth because they're trying to find Thrawn.
I'm not sure I understand.
Okay, we didn't need that. They are using Morgan to find Thrawn. We just don't know why they're trying to find Thrawn. Kermagin here says, regarding Balin's motivation, since we know it's probably the world between worlds, might it not be looking for a way to stop Order 66? Okay, I don't know if you said that before I said it, but maybe you said it first, or I said it first, but okay, at least I know I'm not crazy. I thought my wild theory was somewhere out there in the wild. And Kermagin here is like, no, it's definitely possible. I think I certainly think that he could be trying to find the world between worlds to stop Order 66. It's apparently not it's within the realm of possibilities. But I don't know, right? So it seems plausible, but I don't think that Balin is searching for the world between worlds. Number one, again, we just talked about it. He's looking for Thrawn. They're looking for Thrawn. And so, but perhaps they believe whatever power Thrawn has is a way to stop Order 66. I don't know. We truly just don't know enough about these characters yet to get their motivations right. But Star Wars Kermagin, I'm definitely on the same wavelength as you. It's like, I think what we're both getting at is something happened to Balin, obviously with Order 66, and I think he was deeply affected by it. And I'm calling it right now. I think whatever motivations he may have to find Thrawn, it's at least somewhat rooted and tied with the events of Order 66, and potentially, like I said, Anakin's downfall. But we'll see. Star Wars Kermagin says, Mando Season 3. I saw it once, and I let it go right out of the brain. Same. I've only seen each episode one time. The finale is largely forgettable, in my opinion. But we're all senators here. We can disagree with one another. It was not my favorite season at all of The Mandalorian. However, I did hear some interesting theories today that could shed light on the importance of The Mandalorian specifically, and why the taking over of Mandalore is important. And I'll go into it really quick here just for fun. But basically, the theory I was watching and listening to was, yes, all of this Mandoverse, Ahsoka, Thrawn, all this stuff is leading to the Grisk, or something similar to the Grisk, a alien species ready to take over the known galaxy that we find all of our beloved characters in. The galaxy that the Empire had reign over, and now the New Republic. And apparently, in either Legends material or canon, I don't know, remember which one, I believe that when this alien species, not the Grisk, I think the Yusong Vong, uh, I I believe that that was the first planet that they went to try to take over, and it sounds like they just completely wipe out the Mandalorians. Hence, why Dave and John would need to build the Mandalorian culture and stories up in live action for these normie fans, because that could be something that they adapt into the story that they're trying to tell. Let's see here. Star Wars Curmudgeon, I like that, especially after what he said concerning the lost of the Jedi. Yeah, I definitely think it's possible. I definitely think it's possible that the motivations are tied into Order 66. Star Wars Curmudgeon says, I agree with Tony that Balin is using Morgan for sure. 100%. He needs Balin for a reason. Follows up and says, Ben doesn't have a hatred for the Jedi. He's not living by the Jedi code, but he doesn't want to kill the remnants of the Order that are left. Yeah, namely Ahsoka Tano. And he's training Shin as a patty. She has the braid. Yes, so definitely true. He's definitely trying to take what he knows and train Shin. But again, he's taking what he knows as a former Jedi, and Shin knows nothing of the Jedi. In fact, the poor Padawan is probably confused because he might be trying to teach her all these things, yet when they show up to New Republic ships, they just wipe out everybody. I mean, as corrupt as the Jedi were, they definitely were not uh, like that, like Dark Jedi. And so it's probably just confused in general. And you know, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where their characters go. Let's see. Uh, Curmudgeon follows up as a Star Wars democracy. Is that Den of Nerds theory or Den of Nerds theory you're talking about? I haven't seen the video yet. It absolutely is. So yeah, I did watch Josh's video today, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. I highly recommend it. He pieces it together obviously better than I ever could, but I think he's also going to release a video about it, Curmudgeon, as well. But yeah, he really dives down into everything, and I won't get into it here because that's his video, and he does a good job. But he talks about the Ricotta, the Yusong Vong, the Gris. He plays some of his old videos in speculation and leaks and rumors that he covered years ago, like 3 years ago, and brings them in and talks about how they all connect together. Um, and the most interesting thing I thought was really cool. Spoiler warning if you don't want spoilers here, potential spoilers. I'll give you a few minutes to head out. But what I think was really interesting is that there is in the leaks that he talked about years ago, rumor that in this new galaxy where Ezra will be speaking to this amphibian like creature character said to be like an Aztec amphibian, I think is what Josh said. That's what was covered in the leaks. It sounds like someone a part of the Rakatan Empire, and it sounds like this character would be the last remaining member of the Rakatan Empire. And the character, according to Josh, is said to be morally gray or questionable. I can't remember exactly how he put it. Anyway, he's not a good person. He's not a bad person. The morals are somewhat iffy. And that would be really cool because that's said to be the person who's like having an influence on Ezra in this new place. So for all you people out there who said that Ezra can't turn to the dark side, well, it sounds like potentially rumors are he might just be getting influenced by the last remaining member of the Rakatan Empire, this Aztec amphibian uh, looking person who has questionable morals. So take that for what you will. But yes, it is his stream that I'm talking about. Star Wars Curvagen says Shin seems to have almost been trained as an assassin. She's ready to kill at a moment's notice. That is true. And that is something that um, when we were first learning about the possibility of Balin and Shin, they were described as dark side assassins. And that's certainly the type of character I would say we've seen with Shin so far. She is trained to get the job done. Uh, and that's we've seen it so far. She goes and gets the star map from Sabine. Senator Tony says that is true. I maybe the part we're talking about the Rakatan Empire or the part about the assassin. Either way, Senator Tony says that is true. All right, I say at this point, let's get into the predictions that everyone submitted. I believe Tony, you were actually the only one who submitted a prediction, which is totally fine, and I really appreciate you as always. But I want to make sure that we can read that prediction. So I think it is time for a I Love Democracy segment.
I love democracy. I love the Republic.
So Senator Tony here is the one who submitted a prediction, and Senator Tony, a 10 out of 10 for excitement level for this upcoming episode. I am at a 10 out of 10 as well. I'm sure everyone in the chat and who watches the stream or rewatches the stream would be at a 10 out of 10 as well. So, let's see. Something that you will predict will happen in the episode, Tony. Let's see here. Let me make sure I can read all of this here because I know you like to fit as many words as you can in these text boxes, which is fantastic. So for a prediction, Tony said Balin will attempt to persuade Ahsoka to join him. Okay. Interesting theory. We kind of talked about that a little bit, but do we think that's going to be pushed to episode 4? Because now y'all got me thinking that it's going to go to episode 4. I don't know what to believe anymore. So sounds like at this point, Tony, you were thinking that Shin, or I'm sorry, Ahsoka and Balin were going to be fighting in this episode. Your second prediction: during their lightsaber duel with Shin, Sabine realizes she left her cat at Lothal. That is funny. That is funny. Number 3, someone will die, possibly a guard from Morgan or a main character. Okay, we talked about that, how we think it might be Shin, and I certainly do believe one of their guards or a robot will die. Number 4, Ahsoka and Sabine will locate where they need to go to find Ezra, but require guidance from Captain Enoch. Okay, so Captain Enoch is a rumored person, I believe, that was already in the galaxy, though, and I believe the Enoch character is working with Thrawn, unless we're thinking about two different characters here. Number 5, Hera warns Mon Mothma of Thrawn's impending return, but her plea is ignored. Okay, so I forgot about that scene. That's also another scene we haven't seen yet. Definitely could pop up in this episode, but we will see. I almost wonder, though, if that scene will take place after Balin, Shin, Merrick, Elsbeth all go to Peridia, and they're like, okay, now we got big issues. But I don't know. It could happen. It could happen. Number 6 here: Hera, Sabine, Ahsoka, Huyang, and Chopper head to see Captain Enoch, but get pulled over for speeding by Trapper John. Interesting prediction. Number 7, Sabine and Huyang play a game of Dejeric. Okay, could happen. Number 8, Chopper will kill someone, but the identity is unknown. Don't know if that's going to happen, but wouldn't surprise me. Chopper is a tin can of star. Number 9, the Inquisitor's identity remains a mystery. We didn't even talk about that. We already talked about it in the stream a few days ago. But are you all buying into the fact that Sam Witwer, like Galen Merrick, Starkiller, whoever you want to call him, is going to be playing this Inquisitor? I don't know. I certainly think it's possible, but at the same time, I don't know. Okay, so the next question on the prediction sheet is, what is a wild theory? Well, I can't remember what I typed now. What is a wild theory that you have for the show? So Senator Tony's predictions are already wild, but this is his even wilder theory, I guess. Let's see. It is possible that Sabine is a Night Sister, as she was able to unlock the map sphere without needing to visit the Cetos Temple, I believe, unlike what Morgan had to do. So I read that theory, Tony, and I forgot that was your theory. And then it got me thinking. I was like, she does open the star map. Is she a Night Sister? I don't know. You know what though? Wasn't she possessed when they go to Dathomir? Who was it? Wasn't it Kanan and Sabine that get possessed by the Night Sister magic? Someone correct me. Someone correct me in the chat. But I believe that Sabine did get corrupted by Night Sister magic in Rebels season 3. So, is it possible that she does have the power of a Night Sister? Maybe it's not always a wild theory as we thought, but y'all let me know. That's it. Thank you, Tony, for submitting that response. Truly appreciate you being a senator of the channel, and love that you are part of these streams, and couldn't thank you enough. Thank you, Star Wars Kermagin, as well, for being here, a new senator of the channel. I look forward to seeing you more often here. It's been a fantastic debate. Here's some more chats that I want to get through, though. Let's see. Kermagin says, and I love her fighting style. Did you see the way she flipped Sabine, almost use an arm lock of sorts? Yeah, it was like pro wrestling. Yeah, and it was fantastic. I mean, I shouldn't say fantastic choreography. But it was lightsaber fighting, and it's something that we don't get very often with Disney Star Wars, so we'll just take it and let's just run with it. But no, it was fantastic. The episode was fantastic. The 2 episodes were fantastic, and I think they're just going to continue to be fantastic. I have no reason to believe that Dave Filoni is going to fail us. Tony says, "Oh no." Kermagin says, "Nice intro, thank you." The motto here is "I love democracy," so that is the segment that we like to do when we allow our senators to share their thoughts. And the I Love Democracy segment for Wednesday, which we will be streaming on Wednesday, 8 p.m. Central, to give my reaction to what I thought about Ahsoka Episode 3, and then let you all share your mind as senators of the channel as well. But on that I Love Democracy segment, I'll share the community tab votes of how people liked the episode out of 5 stars. So make sure you go vote on the community tab after the episode is said and done with. Let's see. Tony says, I was drunk when I submitted that. Well, I mean, they were crazy, but they weren't as crazy as last week, I think. So, no, I appreciate you submitting a response, Tony. It does mean a lot. Star Wars Kermagin says, speaking of excitement, it is so nice to be on a channel where there is enthusiasm. Don't get me wrong. I'm a KK Disney fan, but the level of hate being leveled at this series is really unfair. I totally agree with you, Kermagin. My idea behind this channel was just to have fans come together, and there are plenty of channels out there that do this, by the way. I'm by no means the only one. Is to have people in the community come and just talk about Star Wars in a galactic Senate-like format where we can have disagreements. And there's so many cool things coming with the channel. I couldn't be more happy with how fast the channel is growing in the audience, and people joining the Discord and all kinds of things. It's been absolutely fantastic. Senator Tony's been here a while. I've seen his comments a lot. Star Wars Kermagin, I don't know when you found the channel, but again, couldn't thank you enough for being here and just chatting with me. Yeah, it's a lot of fun just to come together a few times a week in these live streams and just talk about Star Wars and just theorize and speculate, and that's the whole vision behind the channel. So let's see here. Star Wars Kermagin says, I don't think it's Star Killer. Might they just have Sam play Merrick? Sure. It seems like the kind of fun troll Filoni would do. I absolutely agree with you. I don't think that it's going to be Star Killer by any means. I don't think the character will be named Star Killer. I do think that they'll just adapt the character of Galen Merrick and Star Killer into this Inquisitor. I do think it would also be super compelling to see Ahsoka as Anakin's apprentice, and then an Inquisitor who has at least some association to Darth Vader, and perhaps this Inquisitor, like Vader, found this Inquisitor very favorable, and really took this Inquisitor under his wing and trained him a little bit more than the others, or maybe not at all. I don't know. We're just theorizing here, but it would be really compelling to see an apprentice of Vader versus an apprentice of Anakin, and I certainly think it's possible in one way or another. So yeah, couldn't be more excited. Let's see. Senator Tony says the Star Wars curmudgeon. Totally agree with your comment on excitement and the remainder of your comment. I truly thank you both. Senator Tony says I've ditched other channels because the hate on there is too far beyond what I can tolerate. That's why I'm here. Again, appreciate that, Tony. We have a lot of fun over here, and it's been fun to have you as a center of the channel. And we have so many more fun things coming up. So looking forward to that. The Star Wars curmudgeon, I like your thoughts and comments. Nice to have you here. And then says, thanks, Tony. I enjoyed the dialogue with both of you. It's been a fun conversation. So I think with that, I appreciate you all being here and discussing with me. I'll see you back here on Wednesday, where we'll talk about my reaction and your reaction to episode 3. Looking forward to it. And hey, on the conversation, it doesn't have to end here. Go make yourself a Discord account, or if you have a Discord account, go to the description, join the server, and we can continue the conversation. We don't have to be done just because we're done live streaming. Let's continue the conversation. There's a link in the description. With that, I think we're going to motion to adjourn the stream. May the Force be with all of you always.